Hi everyone, today I am talking with Mark Alexander-Erber of Golden Robot Records. He's got a new promo out to help spread the goodness of music, but also help get Australia vaccinated. And we want to talk about music as well today. How are you doing?
I'm good, Di. How are you? Nice to see you and nice to talk to you.
I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic today. So I got your press release that came out yesterday, late evening, which would be early morning here for us. You guys are doing something called Rock The Vax. That's an initiative to help Australian citizens to get vaccinated. Tell me a little bit about why.
Well, look, I normally live half the year in Los Angeles or most of the year in Los Angeles, and I decided to, when COVID struck, I decided to move from Los Angeles back to Sydney, families here, etc. So it made the most sense. So when I moved back, Australia had a great handle on containing the virus and not letting it get out of control. I mean, basically, as you know, we're an island anyway. So to stop everything coming in, closing the borders worked. It actually worked beautifully. We were one of the best countries in the world for containing it and getting on with a normal life. Shutdowns were, in March 2020 were very rare. We did shut down in New South Wales, where Sydney is, for a small period, but it was manageable. Long story short, get to a month or two ago, and we're still in a position here in Australia where the vaccine rollout has just been horrendous. It's just been horrendous. Whoever you want to blame, whether it's the government or however you want to look at it, it just hasn't helped the Australian population. So at the end of the day, we're in a situation where we're unvaccinated, where I think we're 8 or 9%. It's just not cool compared to what you were talking about, where your state's 80%. So we rolled out Pfizer, we rolled out AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca got a bum rap, which is ridiculous because I've had it and I'm fully vaccinated. I'm one of the 8%. So it just hasn't worked. So I was sitting here the other day, last week, they locked us down again in Australia, and I thought, you know what? This is just bullshit. I need to do something. So in my own humble way, I decided to come up with a great initiative. I sat together with my production guy and we looked at it, and within a day we'd come up with Rock The Vax. I think we got the slogan. Remember MTV Rock the
Rock the Vote or something.
Yeah, Rock the Vote. Yeah. So it was sort of around Rock the Vote, Rock the Vax. It made sense. So look, we put that together, and it was fantastic. It whenever we do what we're great with the Golden Robot, we're very good with putting together initiatives or podcasts, or I do all those in conversations with, because I'm entrepreneurial all the time. We can put things together quite quickly. So really within 24 hours, we'd filmed it. Our PR people have got onto it. It went out 2 days later to all the press, and we started it. It's very simple. For the next 2 weeks, go and get a jab, show us your certificate, or prove that you've got the one or the first or second jab. And I've got a massive back catalogue. I'll send you a vinyl, or I'll send you a CD. Just give you that extra incentive. They know they need to get it. Just get out and get it.
And I've got, one of the albums that I was saying before, that's one of my favorite albums that came out last year, is on your label, was the Riley's LA Guns Renegades.
Yeah.
You guys could grab that album. It's a fantastic listen. There's so many great artists on your label as well. And then with the other labels that are under the umbrella of Golden Robot, that grab some great music.
Really. Well, you know that I love you, Di, so you get the album anyway.
I do say it's one of the best LA Guns albums I've heard in years, out of whether it's the old LA Guns or the new LA Guns splits. I think this goes back, and I even told Steve the same thing. It goes back to their roots, and what a beautiful 100%. Album.
Well, you got to remember Kelly Nichols, Kelly, Steve, Kurt, and Scott. You've got to remember that they've all had something to do with it somewhere. But Kelly Nichols was the one that wrote the hits.
Yes.
He wrote the main songs. All the Ballad of Jane was written by Kelly Nichols. So Kelly and Steve getting together with the other boys and putting this album together. And I tell you why I know we're not here just to talk about Riley's LA Guns, but I'll tell you something cool about it. Number one, they're the nicest guys in rock and roll. There's absolutely no doubt. and the way they handled themselves last year was an absolute credit to all of them. But I remember sitting here, however long ago it was, I actually think they recorded the album in December 2019. They did. And so I remember sitting here at my desk and getting Crawl for the first time and listening to Crawl and going, yeah, this is an absolute winner. Knowing that it definitely, there's nothing better than a song that sounds like the band, but is also fresh enough to be 2021, 2022. And I love that. And when I heard that, I thought, oh, this is just fantastic. But what I loved about what they did is they had the songs, they did their pre-production, but they were in and out of the studio in a week. They did it old school. Mics, play live, let's just get this thing done. And they nailed it. And it is. It's been one of the best-selling albums I've ever had. So very proud to be involved with Riley's LA Guns.
Yeah, I think it's a great next generation for them, and the music is so good. But like you said, we're not here just to talk about Riley's LA Guns, because you have a lot of great bands on your label, and more keep signing to your label. And I just really want to know, like, what was your calling to music, and how did you decide to really load up on these artists?
Okay, it's a good question. A question that I've answered meticulously over the years because it's really simple. It's really simple to me. I am a music fan. I'm a massive music fan. Everything to me starts and ends with Led Zeppelin. I'm a massive Zeppelin guy. You know, Zeppelin on vinyl. I've got so many different pressings of so many different albums, etc. So I've always been an entrepreneur. So an entrepreneur and being a music fan, when you put those two together and you can't play an instrument, the next best thing is to start and own a record label. So very, very without boring people, very quickly, the way that it started was with my son. My son's one of the top drummers in Australia, if not the world. And very simply, when he was young, he was a young prodigy, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. People couldn't believe how well he could drum. He's all over the internet. If you look at Jagger Alexander, you can see him. He's about that big, playing drums. He ended up on Australia's Got Talent, which is like America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent. And he popped out of that at age 9. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with this kid? So the entrepreneurial brain flicked into gear, you know, that light bulb moment. And I thought, well, I'll put him together with a couple of great Aussie musicians. And I don't remember how it happened or why it happened, but I was looking for that amazing producer, Steve Albini, you know, who did a million great albums, including Nirvana. I believe it was Nirvana. He did Nirvana and all that stuff. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. So I was looking, and somehow I got my wires crossed, and I ended up getting to a guy in Australia called it could have been anywhere because it was on Facebook, but a guy called Steve Balby. Now Steve is actually quite well known in Australia. He was in a band in Australia called Noiseworks. Anyway, long story short, I thought I was getting Steve Albini, but I ended up with Steve Balby. But it actually worked out perfectly. So Jagger and Steve and another guy called Mark Ward went into a studio. Jagger was 10, and he made an album called The Orbiter, and the band was called Moon. And these guys are in their 40s and 50s. Jagger's 10, and I've got to say, it's one of the best rock albums to this day I've ever heard, the Moon album. So when they were in the studio and they made the album, I sat there and I thought, well, hang on, I need to push this or sell this or do something with this album. So I took the demo and I went around the world trying to flog the demo all over Europe, all over America, Australia, and nobody was interested. They couldn't give two shits about rock and roll. This was in about 2014, 2015. So I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do it myself. So I started a company and I was standing there and I thought, right, what am I going to call this thing? And when they came out of the studio, I gave them all just a little gift. I could have given them, you know, a cup. I could have given them a phone. I could have given them anything, but I gave them all a little golden robot. So when I was sitting there thinking, well, what do I call this company? He was sitting on the speaker. So we called it Golden Robot Records. So that's how it started. Golden Robot Records was born with that album, Moon. So if you look at our back catalogue, Moon is always 00001. So it's quite a cool thing that it was my son behind starting that. So look, long story short, as I keep saying, because we don't have all day, I went nuts. I started I got distribution. I got a couple of PR people involved, and I started signing Aussie bands. Rose Tattoo, Choir Boys, Super Jesus, bands you might have heard of or not heard of, but were popular in the scene in the 90s. You know, Rose Tattoo was 70s, 80s, etc. We just today announced a reissue of a Rose Tattoo album. So we're still involved with Rose Tattoo. I think we've done 5 albums with Rose Tattoo. So when I got excited about that and thought, well, I need to take this to the world, I was introduced to a couple of amazing record executives, and one of them hit it off with me, and we thought, wait, let's take this. So it was about 2016 to about 2019. I based myself out of America and got the best distribution I could get out of Germany, physical and digital, put PR teams in place all around the world, France, Germany, New York, LA, Australia, Japan, etc., etc. So I stepped everything up a level, and then went after the bigger bands and signed the bigger bands. You know, at the moment we're sitting there with, you know, Filter, Riley's LA Guns, Jefferson Starship, Vanilla Fudge. The Answer's got a new album coming out of Ireland, and then I've got all these other amazing artists that are connected to other amazing artists like Joel Hoekstra's on VHF, you know, Vinny's album, Tony Franklin. And then you've got these other amazing guys like David Coots, who was the guy that sang in Talk Show. Remember Talk Show, which was Stone Temple Pilots without Scott Weiland?
Yes.
He's just doing an album for us. So there's just these incredible artists that just this really rich roster on Golden Robot. And it was around that time that I decided to then extend out the labels. And we've got 11 labels now, broken down. You know, Crusader Records does metal, Right Records does punk. We've gone partnership and bought into Die Laughing Records in California, Coffin and Bolt in Colorado. So we've extended it out with stoner rock, punk rock, etc., etc. There's about 360 bands now across the labels from that humble beginning of Moon.
See, and that's awesome, because when you're talking about the other labels as well, and you're talking about some of these other artists, one of them that grabbed my attention, and it's so funny because I saw RPG and I was like, RPG, okay, what is this? And then it says Rick Pierce Group. And I'm like, wait, that's a buddy of mine. I'm from here in Seattle. And, you know, I grew up loving Q5, and they've still got this mad following. And, you know, to see things like that, and it's like to tie the labels in, but then also these bands like Cousin Betty and Ghost of Sunset that are putting out really fresh, fun music. And, you know, I'm sure you get bombarded by artists wanting a label.
Oh my God.
When you've got artists coming to you with their EPKs, what exactly are you looking for somebody to even waste your time?
Look, it's a good question. And I want to put it out there that nobody wastes our time with respect, because I know every single person, whether the music is good enough or what we're looking for, or however you want to phrase it, nothing's ever a waste of time. I know a lot of time and effort and money gets put into a demo or an EPK or whatever. So we really respect the fact that someone has come to us, whether they're right for the label or not. We really do respect the fact. And I've never want to be one of these labels, no matter how big we've got. I never want to be one of those labels where, you know, there's no phone number or there's no email address or there's no way to contact them. I just think that's bullshit, and that's just a bunch of wankers. So, you know, I don't agree with that. So one of our fastest growing departments has been our A&R department, because honestly, we get hundreds and hundreds of demos a week. Now, as I said, they might not all suit Golden Robot, but every single one of them will get an email back, and every single one of them will thank them for their submission. So what are we looking for? Look, it's a really good question. Well, number one, you've got to put in a submission in the right way, I believe. You don't put a submission in through a message on Instagram or on Facebook. You've got to put it in through the website, and it's got to be put in properly. And it's got to be easy to access as well, not a million different things. And, you know, there's no point saying you've had, you know, 1 million streams on a song when we check and there's only, you know, 10, which happens, right? So you've got to be pretty upfront and truthful about things. But at the end of the day, look, I'll go back a step. One of the best compliments I get is when people say Golden Robot, the main label, reminds them of the early days of Interscope. And I love that with what Jimmy did in those days, because he had 9 Inch Nails next to Gwen Stefani, next to Julio Enrique. I love that. So you look at that, like I said before, with the roster, you've got this incredible amount of bands coming through. And, like I'm looking at the roster at the moment. I mean, you've got, Gilby Clark next to Johnny Thunders, next to Jefferson Starship, next to the Dangerines out of Canada. I mean, that's just what it's about. That's rock and roll, man. People say rock and roll is dead. What a lot of bullshit. I did a rant the other day. Gene Simmons, right? Rock and roll's not dead. You might be dying, Gene, but we're not dying, brother. We're out there doing our thing and supporting things. I do love Kiss, though, so I won't be too hard on Gene. And he definitely had his place. But, when you look at, I tell you what I'm really proud of. So you look at down the roster, and you look at the American bands, and, I did a rant as well the other day. Where did the better rock and roll come out of UK or, the UK or the US, which is such an age-old thing? We could talk for hours on that.
Right? And I think it depends on which band you get, that you hear.
And what era.
And what era. Yeah, absolutely.
But one of the things I'm so proud of, and we're just about to open a London office. We've got obviously representation in London with PR, etc. But we're opening a London office. But the amount of incredible bands that are coming through the UK, like the Crooks, or Dirty Laces, or Scutlers, etc., are quite incredible. Graces Collide. I mean, I won't mention them all, Callow Youth, but I won't mention them all. But because there's too many to mention, but each single band on our roster out of the UK could be the next best thing. I mean, the Crooks at the moment, Liam Gallagher just absolutely loves them. And then hopefully he'll tour with them next year. So you just need something like that, and you take off in this world. We've got a new Hurricane #1 album coming out, and they were big like Oasis in the early 90s, and they're on the roster there. So, there's one thing about, and you can see I get excited about, there's one thing I love about signing bands, and especially is because we're an international company, we're seeing what's going on around the world. So we just signed one of the best bands out of Mexico, Johnny Nasty Boots. We just signed the best rock band out of Israel, Vessel. LA Cobra out of South Africa. I just love the fact that we've got such a wide scope of what's coming to the label and what's around the label, which means you get this international rock feel, but we've all got the same direction to, kick you in the face with our music, so to speak.
Well, and it's fun that you talk about the wide variety and the wide direction that you are in, and how you're talking about your UK office. And I know you and I met through some banter on Instagram. Somebody was kind of trying to run you guys down, saying you don't do really good PR for your bands, which is a load of crap, because I know your PR rep in the UK. She's amazing. I know your American reps. So you guys push really hard with your PR, and you've got great PR backing the albums that are coming out, where there are a few other labels out there that don't do a good job of representing their artists to push their albums when they're coming out and really get them out there in front of people. And I discover all kinds of new bands just because I love music, and that's how I got into doing what I do, because I love music. I'm a fan. And there are so many good rock bands all over, and I'm so glad to see that there's a label that's taking that time to breathe life back into rock, where people keep saying it's dead, but there's a label saying, oh no, we're here, we're going to rise them out in front of you.
And I think you need to be an entrepreneur to be able to take this on, because at the end of the day, you're not going to make millions of dollars as you're going through. You might make millions of dollars if someone comes along and says, you're a pain in the ass, I'm going to buy you out, but you might not make that all the way through. So you need to always see the long-term game. So when you're signing a band, it doesn't have to be about money. It doesn't have to be about streams or how fucking fantastic they're going to be. It could be just simply they're a great rock and roll band. They're authentic and they're genuine, and they should be part of the rock and roll scene. And we will do what we can to take them to the world. And I think the one thing that we got right, well, the one thing I got right at the beginning is I never got involved with the bullshit of the music industry. I don't give two shits about the Grammys and ARIAs and all that crap. I just do what we do. And having the right team around you, a good entrepreneur will always surround himself with the A team. And I've got some incredible staff around the world working for us, and people in Australia that have been with us for years. And I find that what we got right in the early days was there is other labels that will drop an album and they'll never talk about it again. We didn't do that. We got the singles right, like LA Guns, for example, all through COVID, when these poor guys could not do. In fact, M3 last weekend or 2 weeks ago was the first time Riley's LA Guns had played, basically ever, right? Since the album came out, that's for sure. So here we are with no bands playing, because traditionally the touring was the pinnacle, and the album release, the single, the EP, the merch, everything else was around the album.
Yeah.
Was around the tour and around the album. So they intersected. Now there's no, well, now and back then there really was no touring. So what we had to do was reinvent. And, you're not saving kids' lives here, so it's not too difficult. I'm not a doctor in a hospital. I'm selling rock and roll, so it's not too difficult. However, you've got to approach things differently with a marketing angle. So at the end of the day, we just stretched out the album cycle. So I took LA Guns and we did 4 singles. In fact, when the album came out, we dropped the first single February 20. When it came out November 20, that was the 5th single that dropped, because the fans wanted more and wanted to be part of something. And they wanted to have B-roll footage, and they wanted to have this, and they wanted to, and we gave them, although they couldn't see them live, we gave them everything else that we could up until the album came out. And it worked for us. And we're still pushing it. They were still selling them the other day. We're still doing deals on the LA Guns album. We're talking about doing another single to radio in the next month. So we're still pushing. And I think that's what differs us from other labels is, we know how hard it is to put out an album. We know how much money gets spent. Doesn't matter whether you're a local punk band in Sydney and spent $5,000, $10,000, or you're a major band that spent $250,000 to $500,000 on an album. If they did spend $250,000 to $500,000 on an album, I'd tell them they're out of their fucking mind, because you don't need to spend that kind of money anymore. But you know what I'm saying. For the sake of the argument, you've got different levels. But that music needs to be done and sold and promoted in a way that you've got as much life as possible, as much juice out of the lemon as possible. And I reckon we've got that right.
Yeah, and I would say you do. And I like that you touched on the fact that when you were rolling out the singles, and this doesn't just reflect as just being for LA Guns either, but when you're rolling out the singles and you're engaging the fans because the fans want to feel like they're part of something. I like that you understand that, because I think a lot of people forget that along the way, the bands, especially on their own socials, you've got to bring your fans in with you, and you have to bring them in and embrace them and let them know they're part of something more than just being your fan. Like they've become your family today.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, even if there's someone negative, I mean, there's haters and trolls and all that out there, and that's just part of life. But I think that I can't remember if it was How We Met, there was someone talking rubbish. It was just not true. But I remember reaching out to somebody, and I can't remember. I think he said, I couldn't get this CD somewhere. So I sent it to him. I do that a lot, actually. I see things and I send them, and then they're fans for life of the label of the band. So I don't mind getting back to that embryonic sort of stage and looking after one fan at a time. I think that that's quite cool. I don't think it matters how big your company gets. You can't get, really intrinsically involved in the customer, who is the fan.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really important, because I take it seriously that I'm representing the band. I'm representing each and every band, and I've got to act accordingly. And I think that, I've got a responsibility to that. So if I can turn one fan around by sending them a CD, we had a guy the other day, it was Gilby's CD, and it was nobody's fault. And there's a great way we released that album. We actually held that album off for as long as we could. We were sitting, I think, on the Gilby album, Gilby Clarke's Gospel Truth, for about 2 years. And then it ended up coming out, and that's been incredibly successful for Gilby. And, he's going to start touring later on in the year next year. But then we've got a fantastic vinyl coming out to follow it up. So there's another way to do things, is that if that album comes out a year earlier and then we do a year later the vinyl, it keeps the band's the album relevant, it keeps it fresh, but it also lets the artist or the band stay on the road and promote it, because he can go out for the album, he can go out for the CD release, he can go out for the vinyl release.
Absolutely.
You've got to look at things entrepreneurially these days. Nothing is set in stone. And I think that's why we're successful, because we can pivot and we can turn. And look, we make mistakes. I can tell you 100%, we make mistakes. But the beauty about the mistakes that we make is we can fix them straight away. And we can apologize. That's a good thing about being an Aussie running an international music company, is there's no bullshit. If we fuck up, mate, I'm sorry. We screwed it up. We'll fix it and we'll get on with it. And also on the flip side, we'll celebrate with you if it's a success.
And that's the way to be. I think that there was so much mystery in all the early years of labels that, it's the secret handshake, and it's so much bullshit. And I think that people need that transparency and need to know, don't make it so complicated. Let's not let's uncomplicate all of this and let artists be able to do what they need to do and get on with their work, and let labels and people that want to work with people in an honest way do what they need to do, because in that kind of way, that team works, and it works way better. And like how you're talking about sending an album to somebody who contacts you because they couldn't find it. And I know, as working with other artists, that as the artist manager, we've had people come to us looking for things, and I may have had some stuff still sitting on my shelf that, we never used or something. And I'm like, hey, I'll send it to you, no problem. And that creates a fan connection right there that, hey, these people treated me well.
100%. And that's what I was telling you. It came through Gilby's site that, I don't know what it was. I can't remember if it was cracked or there was something wrong with the CD. So you could look at it and you can go, oh, well, you know what? If I want to be a negative asshole here, he's just trying to get another CD, or he's just trying to do this. But I'm not like that. I look at it and go, you know what? He's got a problem. He's reached out. Let's send him one straight away. And he emailed us back after he got it, which we got it out to him pretty quickly. And he was just so happy and so excited that in this day and age, in 2021, people just forget that interaction. We can't be around each other without a mask. We can't stand within 1.5 meters of each other. Our whole life, the amount of times I used to be in Los Angeles and have meetings was amazing. Now everything is on Zoom. Whether you're in LA or not, it's still bloody on Zoom. So our personal interaction has diminished from where it was down to a small percentage now. You can only hug your family and friends, so to speak. So at the end of the day, I'm trying to still keep that that interaction alive, where someone feels like we've actually done something for them personally. And I love that vibe.
Yeah. So from where you are right now, and you look down the road like 5-10 years, what's the vision for Golden Robot look like for you?
I've sold to a major and I'm sitting on an island with a pink umbrella in my margarita.
That would be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome. I think.
I'm joking. Am I? No, I am joking. No.
But really, if you want to make an offer, come his way. Yeah.
No, look, I this is the thing. I absolutely love what I do. Right. I feel really honored to be releasing music to the world and potentially changing some people's lives. They listen to this song, they've had a shit day, things aren't going well, but they listen to this particular song or this particular album or EP, and they're sitting there and they go, oh, this is amazing. And it takes them to a better place. I feel honored to be in that position. I feel honored to speak and interact with some of the bands and artists that I do. So where are we in 5 to 10 years' time? I think we just keep doing what we're doing. Over the last few years, with the momentum of the company and the signings of the bigger bands, it's given me the ability to sign bigger bands. That's where I'd like to be, and I'd also like to break a band. So I'm signing bands. So there's 3 levels of bands we're signing. Obviously, the level of bands, that are going to sell albums and they've got a name. Then you've got the next biggest thing. And then there's things that we sign that I just love, and I don't care whether it sells an album or it doesn't. I just want to be involved with it. And I can give you a million examples of that. So, good things to be involved with, that when you see that Golden Robot record stamp on the back of the album, I feel proud to be part of their legacy. So, where do I want to be? Just keep going, keep doing what I'm doing, keep doing more initiatives, keep helping more people, keep pushing bands out there. I'd like to see, 30 labels with 1,000 bands, and instead of 80 staff, 500 staff, and just keep growing it naturally to the way that it is. But I'd also love to see one of those bands, like I mentioned before, or I haven't mentioned, or a band like Hardcore Superstar out of Europe that we're just about to do the new album. This album that we're doing with them, they've been around for a while, is the biggest album. They're great. Hardcore Superstar, great. There's a great female singer-songwriter out of Australia called Ella Fence. I can see her, and there's the juxtaposition on the Golden Robot roster, Ella Fence next to Tony Franklin or Hardcore Superstar or Filter. I love that vibe. But one of these bands, Wild Street out in New York, Ashen Moon, Dizzy Reed's next solo album, whatever, being the next big thing is fantastic. But it'd be great if it was a young band like Johnny Nasty Boots, out of Mexico that takes it to the mainstream. That would be amazing. And they become the next Foo Fighters, or they become, as big as that. They go from humble beginnings to playing arenas, to be involved in that. And I reckon we're going to be close. I reckon it's going to happen. I think it's just a matter of time. It's like this for us. Instead of going to the casino and putting all your money on 16 red, I have spread it around. So I've got opportunities to, win here or win there or win there. So I think the way that we're doing it is working. And I think that it won't be long before one of those younger bands actually takes off. And that's how, a label like Sub Pop, or a label like, what was Limp Bizkit on in LA, the famous, I can't believe I got a mental blank. But,
yeah, that one, I'm totally blank on that. I've played the
they
hell
were
out of some Limp Bizkit.
Oh my God, if my son was here, Jag was here, he'd say it straight away. We were talking about it the other day. Anyway, the famous punk label in Los Angeles. The Bad Religion's bass player or guitarist started it up.
Yeah, Epitaph. Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
So, pop, Sub Pop and Epitaph and all these labels that are still around today had hits, and are able to still go this many years later. Roadrunner, Nickelback, and Slipknot. Do you know what I mean? They're still around because of those days. So, Golden Robot Records has got, and the group has got these incredible bands, and bands that have made it before and now with us. But it will, over the next 5 years, to answer your question, it'll be one of those newer bands or younger bands taking off that'll then cement our next 20 years. That's where I want to be.
Now, do you think at all, like I know some of the other labels, they have put together their own showcases or festivals. Is that something that may evolve from Golden Robot Records as a possible?
It's already happening. It's already happening. We're already talking about touring and doing things, but we've talked about it. We had two ways we wanted to go: production, doing our own videos and doing a lot of content, on touring. And we're concentrating on the production. I've got a great guy in Australia who's an American called Johnny Stopko. He's a great American documentary filmmaker. He's got a podcast, Ungoogleable, and he does great things in the entertainment and in the fight scene, etc. He's joined forces with me with Golden Robot Global Entertainment Productions, and he's doing some great videos. And that I'm excited about, because the content of what we can do. We did a video this week for Ash and Moon that was part of, which that features Gary Beers from NXS, his project. It's a fantastic band. We use their song on the back of Rock The Vax's video, and then we've done another one on Ash and Moon. But we can pump those out in 20, 30 minutes, and it's really great to have that, so I can promote all the bands in different ways all the time. So we've been concentrating on that and putting the touring ideas that we have to the side, because the touring's a nightmare at the moment. They're just cancelling things everywhere. But when touring's back to normal, we will get more involved in touring. But at the moment, with everything that's going on, probably one of the most exciting ventures we've got is the merch. Everyone wants this merch with Golden Robot and the little robot on it, and we're just launching it. We've got a website with a store, but we're launching our own robot designs one, which I'm really excited about. I've just approved the design for the face mask with a robot on it, and over the next few months, I'm putting together a deal for tequila. We're going to do our own tequila, which has got a real twist to it. So yeah, I'm excited. There's lots of good things that we're doing that I'm excited about. So it's watch this space. We should catch up every 6 months.
That's awesome. And I want to say, because you touched on tours, you've got a band on tour. They started today. It's their first show out on the road again. They've been out a little bit, but they're back out on the road today with the Rumors. Wild Street is out on tour here in the States. And, Wild Street got that horrible luck like we see happen when bands are on tour. Their van got stolen, and you guys rushed them a whole bunch of new stuff for them to be out on the road with.
Yeah.
What is it like for you to have to get those calls from bands that are desperate for your help at a moment's notice?
Look, I wrote an email to Eric, the lead singer, 4 hours ago, and said to him, look, man, you are a superstar. You're a great guy. You're genuine. You're committed. You're passionate, but you're going to be tested out there. Shit's going to test you. Band members not turning up, vans being stolen, gear being stolen. But I said, brother, we got your back. What do you need us to do? And at this particular point, Dustin, who's our PR guy over there, got him across some albums and CDs, etc. So it's not about, oh, look, pay this bill and we'll send you some no, just get it to him and let's sort it all out later. It's whatever the band needs. And he was able to cope with getting gear and getting all this and etc. And they've got some PR out of it. But at the end of the day, it's just about backing the bands. I've had Dizzy Reed going out on tour from Guns N' Roses with his solo stuff, needed something quickly, so we have to FedEx it here or do this or call some. Jagger, my son, was asked to jump on a plane and go and help Wild Street out on the drums. So, he would have done it if it wasn't for COVID. He's drumming for about 3 bands at the moment. So whatever we need to do as a company, I've said this is a good way to end this off. I've said this all along. When a band joins Golden Robot and all of the labels, they are joining a family. And I will stick to that till the very last day. It is a family, and that's what I say to them on the email after the contract is signed. Welcome to the family. That's the way that I look at it. It's a very big and large and growing rock and roll family, but it's old school. So I concentrate on one member at a time when I need to.
And that is why I have fallen in love with Golden Robot Records. You can feel that. And it's not just the albums that are coming out. You can feel there's something different with what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
And I appreciate the support, Di. I know everything that you do for the scene, in and out of the scene, is really appreciated. It's people like you that actually make a big difference as well. And we couldn't survive without people like yourself. So thank you.
Yeah. And, thank you very much. I mean, there's a lot of us out here that we are trying our best just to keep music alive. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, publications or YouTubers, whatever, you're making money. And a lot of us, you're not. And you do it because you love it. It's a passion to make sure that music stays alive. And it's so important. Music is so important and vital to all of us.
100%. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate the support.
So you guys, if you're in Australia, get out there and rock the vax. Head up to the Golden Robot site, hit up our website now. We've got the press release up there to tell you how to claim your free album if you decide to get vaccinated. Watch what Golden Robot Records is doing. Watch the artists out there and get out when you can to get out to see shows and support the artists. Buy some albums. Even if you don't have the money right now, hit up social media on these bands' pages and let them know you love what they're doing. You can stream their music, make an impact, and help all the bands and the labels survive. Mark, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Di. Thank you very much.
Thank you.